today. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce all the people who are seated at the head table. So if I can have your attention, please, we'll begin here. We have I got to turn this list around. Okay, let me introduce to you first, starting from my right at the head table tonight, the president of the center, Jeanette Wishna, and her husband, Sheldon. Again this year, our great co-chairman of Sports Night 95. He's been at all of these. He's the guy who really conceived this whole program and has made it what it is today, Scott and Kay Slobotsky. Who's that guy next? Oh, yeah, right. Does he speak English? Wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, no introduction needed for our main guest of honor tonight, Carl Reiner. And seated next to Carl is his manager and the executive producer of the very popular Seinfeld show, George Shapiro. And seated next to George is someone who I'm very proud to introduce to you tonight, my bride of 6 months, Linda. To my left, Lamar Hunt and his lovely wife, Norma, the owner of the best football team in the National Football League. And next to Lamar, another man who needs no introduction. He is a living legend, ladies and gentlemen, the great Buck O'Neill. And seated next to Buck, accompanying our general manager of the Chiefs tonight, is Lori Larson. And the general manager and president and CEO of the best football team in the National Football League, Carl Peterson. Seated next to Carl, the executive director of the JCC, Ellen, and her husband, Steve Court. Our head table. Let me call up here now our co-chairman, Scott Slobotsky. Scott?
Good evening, everyone. This is so fantastic to be out here with so many family and friends. When Marvin and I, 6 months ago, were working on the awards for this year with our committee, and we talked about the great Buck O'Neill, and we said, well, we really need to honor Lamar Hunt. And we had no idea that at this time they would be 9-1, and I'm very excited about that. Before I say my thank yous, I do want to recognize one person in the audience who's a good friend and a great individual, the governor of the state of Kansas, Mr. Bill Graves. But on behalf of my co-chairman, Marvin Littman, and the members of my Sports Night Committee, this is our 6th year, and we put upon ourselves a really strong goal to raise over $100,000 net income for the center. Tonight, I want to announce that we have raised in excess of $105,000. Most importantly, the people in this room have made that possible, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for allowing the center to receive those funds and for all the thousands of children over the next year that will benefit from all the programs. Thank you very much.
Let me call now on the president of the center, Jeanette Wishna.
I'm going to use some note cards so I don't forget anyone or what I want to say, so excuse me for that. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the 10,000 men, women, and children who are members of the Jewish Community Center, I want to thank you all for your generous support of JCC's Sports Night. In addition to having a lot of fun this evening, you are also enabling the center to enrich our youth sports activities and enhance our endowment fund for the Maccabi Games, which is a wonderful program that you will hear more about in a few minutes. The Jewish Community Center serves people of all ages in an environment of Jewish values and Jewish traditions. We do that through an extraordinary variety of cultural, educational, social, and recreational activities. Our Child Development Center is a model for preschool and daycare providers. Our senior adult program, which helps meet the nutritional and social needs of the elderly, is a lifeline for many. And our acculturation activities for new American families helps facilitate their absorption into society, just as the center did for our grandparents and great-grandparents. From infancy to maturity, the JCC enriches the lives of people in both the Jewish and non-Jewish community. Every effort is made to assure participation of all individuals, regardless of their ability to pay. During the past 2 weeks, the center has sponsored Kansas City's first ever Jewish book fair. It will culminate tomorrow with a visit from tonight's special guest, Mr. Carl Reiner. At 10:30 a.m. at the center in Overland Park, he will be signing his book, Continue Laughing, which you can purchase at our bookstore. The address is on your program. Scott, we set the time for 10:30 because you promised us that tonight's dinner would be over by then, right? Okay. Scott thanked his committee and some of the people who helped make tonight possible, and especially his co-chairman, Marvin Lippman. I would also like to express my appreciation to everyone who worked so hard for this evening. However, the one person who has not been appropriately thanked is Scott Slobotsky. Scott has chaired Sports Night Dinner since its inception in 1990. He is a super salesman, as I think a lot of you out there know, and he is also supremely dedicated to the Jewish Community Center. The months of work, the endless calls, the 7:30 a.m. meetings leading to tonight. Everyone associated with the center, the board members, the staff, and volunteers, want him to know how very much we appreciate all that he does. Thank you, Scott. And thank all of you for making this a night to remember. And now it is a personal honor for me to introduce a gifted leader of our community, the senior rabbi of Congregation Beth Shalom, Rabbi Alan Cohen.
I'm going to use notes also, Jeanette, but with the lights here, I'm not sure if I'll see them. As the matriarch Rebecca's pregnancy progresses, as is read in the coming week's Torah portion of Toldot, we find the following words. She went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord answered her. 2 nations are in your womb, 2 separate peoples shall issue from your body. That is, as some might say, a text that is pregnant with meaning, if if you will excuse the pun. And the meaning that is often attributed to that text is a political one. But I want to steer away from politics tonight, because tonight is a night perhaps of a lighter vein. I'm sure the governor will appreciate that. And rather view that particular text as descriptive of forces within our own society and perhaps within each of us as well. And that since tonight is a time to relax, to allow that lighter side to prevail with the humor of our featured guest, and I can speak as one who grew up in a generation well remembering his work with Sid Caesar and others of that era, the greats of comedy. While the lighter side is our emphasis, I want to say that it's no less important in our lives. For humor heals as it entertains and as it amuses. And so too, sports is a very healing and entertaining part of our lives. It is something which often is informational, and those who followed Buck O'Neill's baseball memories this summer can certainly speak of that which it has given. It is also an important aspect, both the humor and the sports, to instill values in our lives, often what is all too lacking. And our honoree this evening, Mr. Lamar Hunt, represents a sport that is today much in question because of loyalty to communities. And we hope that he represents something that certainly is of great loyalty to the community of which we are all a part. So while we laugh this evening, and while we are entertained, I trust that we will also recall Rebecca and the message that was given to her. Struggle with the forces in our lives, our society. Strive for triumph, especially of people values and of community spirit, of loyalty to traditions, to better the forces within each of us and all of us, to entertain us, to inform us, to amuse us, and to make us better appreciate the brighter side of life. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. As has always been the custom at our evening here, we present the Maccabi Awards to all the young people who have done such a tremendous job in the field of athletics. And so I'd like to bring up now Robert Shaw, who is the chairman of the Maccabi